Jesus Freak here, and I just had a rather interesting thought. As someone who's written emulators, and the one you see here isn't mine, I've realized that you basically have two different types of emulators. You have high-level emulators and low-level emulators. Now, a high-level emulator is one that will, takes the code that's intended to run on a certain chip and it translates it to run on another chip, but it does so sort of loosely. Like they'll rewrite the code that runs on a certain chip and they'll kind of have this run natively, just a general idea of how it runs. And it's faster, but it's less accurate. And low-level emulation is when you're basically simulating stuff at a lower level, like down to the motherboard level, or even sometimes they'll have them emulated down at the chip level. And it's slower, but it's more accurate. And there's sort of a range in between. If that sounds familiar to some of you, Bible translation works the same way. And, we say we prefer more accurate, more literal translations because, you can get paraphrastic and it'd be, simpler to understand, but it won't be as accurate. But you go more accurate and it becomes harder to understand. Because it's at too low a level for most people. Oh, and that's why a lot of people, I think, have trouble with the more literal translations. And likewise, I think, it's why, some people don't like some of the newer emulators because they run on slower on a lot of older computers. You had, in the day, you had to take a lot of shortcuts for this stuff to work. I just, thought this was an interesting thing to consider since, these are two different categories of, two different types of things I've dealt with in my life. And I felt, there was a bit of an accurate analogy between the two. Jesus Freak out.